The Toyota Camry is the best-selling sedan in the US, and it's been that way for quite some time. Here for 2025, though, the Camry gets some major updates here as it enters the 9th generation. As always, I'm going to go through this thing from the outside in, talk about what's new for this new generation, and talk about what it's been like to live with for the past week. Let's go ahead and take a look. The first big change is going to be underneath the hood. So in the past, you could get a hybrid Camry in front-wheel drive form. You get a gas-powered Camry in either front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive form. Now you can only get a hybrid Camry, and you can get it in either a front-wheel drive hybrid or an all-wheel drive hybrid. So that's a big update, because if you look across the market at all-wheel drive hybrid sedans, there really aren't any. You got the Corolla, you got the Volvo S60 and S90 if you want a plug-in hybrid, but this is the only true hybrid sedan that's all-wheel drive on the market now. And this hybrid system is not the same one that was in the last generation. That was the Toyota Hybrid System 2. This one is Toyota Hybrid System 5, so it's a big update here. And how this one works, it's got the 2.5-liter four-cylinder engine, which will help push the front wheels. And then you've got 3 electric motors if you get the... I can't count to 3 apparently. Then you've got 3 electric motors if you get the all-wheel drive system, 2 electric motors if you get the front-wheel drive system, where one motor essentially gets the internal combustion engine going and sort of directs the power where it needs to go. The second motor is going to be on that front axle working with the internal combustion engine to get those front wheels going. And then if you get an all-wheel drive system, then you get a third motor on that back axle. And that one, there's not a lot of power going on, not a lot of torque coming out of that 30 kilowatt motor in the back. That's really just for situations where you need a little bit extra push, like if you're from a stop uphill, if you start to lose slip in one of your wheels or something, then those back wheels will start to get involved. And then the front motor is going to be a 100 kilowatt motor, and that one combined with the internal combustion engine, going to make 225 horsepower. And then when you get the back wheels involved, you get a total output of 232 horsepower at your peak. People that thinks that that's not enough power, then you've been spending too much time in Hellcat. And if you get this in LE trim level, the base trim level in front wheel drive, that's what's going to get you your best fuel economy. That's going to be right around 51 combined for city and highway. This one, XSE all-wheel drive, is the worst fuel economy because it's got the biggest wheels and it's got the extra weight of the all-wheel drive system. And it's right around 41 miles per gallon is the rating, so still pretty solid for the worst fuel economy rating. I've been averaging right around 39. I've got a little bit of a heavy right foot, but still getting 39 combined. That's a pretty good deal. Your only transmission option here is going to be an eCVT. That is not a traditional CVT. A lot of people get those mixed up. This is less mechanically complex than a traditional CVT because you don't have all the pulleys and stuff. Still a little bit on the droney side, but it works well for efficiency. A lot of times when a new generation of a car comes out, it is much bigger. Cars just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. This one actually has not grown too much, though, in the 9th generation. We're looking at about 3/4 of an inch of extra length, pretty squarely in line with the rest of the midsize segment, your Sonata, your K5, your Altima. It's pretty much, those are all going to be about 193 inches overall. Not going to have problems with parking or garages or anything like that at this size. You're not quite getting into like those massive sedans where you start having problems with fitting in parking spots and garages. But the Accord is going to be a little bit longer. That one's going to give you a couple of extra inches, which will give you a little more cargo space, a little more rear seat space as well. The wheelbase also pretty squarely in line with the rest of the midsize at 111 inches. This one's sitting on the big 19s in the XSE trim level because it is the Extreme Sport Edition. Not so aptly named, but with this being the sporty version of it, you do get the big 19s. And in the other trim levels, you're looking at either 18s or the LE trim. The base trim will get you 16s, which is part of why that one is so much more efficient, because of smaller wheels. They're going to be more efficient and they're going to ride a little bit better. These are actually not even the standard 19s that come on the XSE. For $1,500, you can get this pretty cool wheel design that we've got going on here. I I actually like these quite a bit. I'm glad they're not black. Everybody's doing the black wheel thing. It's a little bit overplayed. I really like the design on this one quite a bit, but that will set you back $1,500. And we're wrapped in all seasons, not run flats, standard all seasons. Love to see that they're not run flats because we do have a full spare in the trunk. This color here is called Heavy Metal. It is a paid option, $425, but they do still have some pretty nice colors. They've got a red, they've got a nice blue, they've got some really nice colors for you. If you do want something that will pop a little bit more, this black roof option is only an option on the XSE trim level, and that'll set you back $500. Keyless access here, touch to lock there, touch to unlock here in the front. That comes standard on the XSE and the XLE, and it's optional on the base 2 trims. LED turn signal in here, blind spot monitoring in here is going to be standard. These mirrors are also heated in the top 3 specs. They do not power fold. Be nice to see power folding, but definitely not the end of the world there. We got the nice side sills going on there. A little bit of a sporty look to it. Really a nice looking profile as well. The front end here is kind of a little more subdued, a little more classy looking, a little more understated maybe than the last generation. It just looks a little bit more modernized, I guess. But depending on which trim level you get, each one is going to have kind of its own unique look to it. This one being the XSE, you get the color-matched sport mesh grille along with the gloss black air intakes on the side, the color-matched canards over here. You've got the parking sensors across the front here are part of the Premium Plus package, which is going to include a bunch of extra safety features as well as the 360 camera. So that's why you got the camera here, and you got the cameras in those mirrors over there because it's got the Premium Plus pack on it. A little more venting up here. It's got the updated headlights. If you get one of the base 2 trims, then you get the bi-LED headlights. This one gets the dual LED headlights. So instead of having one bulb for the high and the low beam, this one actually has 2 separate bulbs, but you still get LED daytime running lights. You still get LED headlights. It's just a bi-LED instead of the dual LED. My only thing that I wish they had done with the lights, I wish they could get cornering lights on this. I feel like that's becoming more and more common nowadays. At least have it as an option, maybe just in the XLE, but just to have it available would be nice. But outside of that, the lights are still very good at night. You got great visibility with these for sure. For the back end here, the sport trim, so the SE and the XSE, are going to give you this little subtle spoiler as well as the black across here for the badging. Give you a little bit of a sportier look, and the diffuser down here, and then the dual exhaust tips. So it's one exhaust splitting out into 2 tips. No exhaust over here. But if you get the XLE or the LE, the comfort trims, then it'll look a little bit different than this one. LED combination tail lights are going to be standard here. Then you can pop this open. The button right there opens up into 15 cubic feet of space. I know that's a weird way to measure it. That's the easiest way to compare against the competition. It's a little bit low compared to the rest of the midsize, but they're all going to be in the 15 to 16 range. But it's tons of space, honestly. This is plenty to get. I could get my full family's worth of stuff back here, no problem. Then underneath here, you do have a real spare. I'm glad that they aren't going with the fix-a-flat kit. Everybody's doing fix-a-flat kits nowadays. I'm glad you've got a real spare in there. And you got access to the battery over here as well. Got these pull handles because it does have the 60-40 split where you can drop down the seats over there. And then this one has the illuminated trunk sills optioned if that's something that you want. If you're packing your bags at night a lot, packing your trunk up at night quite a bit. Nothing to grab here when you want to close it, so you do have to touch the paint to close that up. And if you don't want to use the button there, you do have the option on the key as well. A couple of buttons there, as well as your Camry logo on the back, so you can open up the trunk with that button right there if that's what you're into, but you cannot close the trunk with that button. It's just for opening. Nope, then it'll make it panic. All right. If you have the Remote Connect subscription, you can either go in through the app and remote start your car, or you can use the key fob lock, hold, and that will start the car up. But again, you do have to have that subscription in order for that to work. The interior for the Camry for the new generation has been updated beautifully. Honestly, the only thing I really have an issue with is all this glossy black stuff. I can't stand gloss black here. the old Camry had been it had gone kind of long in the tooth in terms of like the infotainment was pretty dated, looking and feeling. The gauge cluster here was like the graphics weren't the nicest. The materials were fine, like, it's not a luxury car, I get that, but it was kind of like the materials and the interior in general were like kind of fine. The features had kept up though. The Camry, it's not necessarily meant to be the nicest place to be, but here in the XSE trim, with all of the features and with the leather trim and everything, this could compete with a Lexus. I might even get this over the Lexus ES300H. But even when you get the base now, the LE, you get a ton of standard features. You get dual zone climate, automatic dual zone climate. You get a wireless charger. You get Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, both wireless. You get vents in the back for the back seats, as well as some USBs back there, USBs up here. You get a lot of nice features, just the standard, which is huge, honestly. Now, if you get the base, you do get the manually adjustable seats. You do get the cloth as well, but there's nothing wrong with cloth seats for sure. But then if you get the SE, then you get the Softex, which is the synthetic leather. The XLE will get you a mix of a microfiber and a leather trim. This one in the XSE gets you the leather trim. And when I looked in this interior, the first time I looked in it, I was like, wow, this looks like it's a Lexus. Really like this cockpit red here. It probably looks super bright in the camera, like in the video, but it's not like super bright in your face. I really like this leather quite a bit. It's got this like shooting blade design, and the perforation looks really nice. Heated seats in this one are going to be standard in the upper specs. Heated steering wheel as well, standard in the upper specs. This one's even got ventilated seats as well here in the XSE. And in the top 3 specs, they're going to be power adjustable, 8-way power adjustable. They're not like super aggressively bolstered or anything, but they have adjusted the cushion. They've adjusted the headrest here from the last generation and then made it a little bit more supportive, a little bit more comfortable. And honestly, I've had no issues sitting in this car for long periods of time. No massage seats or anything like that. We're not quite at that level, but really nice, comfortable seat overall. Leather wrap steering wheel, leather wrap shift knob in this trim level. You got buttons are really laid out nicely. I'm glad they're not using the Lexus system with like the capacitive haptic slider stuff. They've still got physical buttons. Yeah, they're plasticky, but not really complaining here in a Camry for sure. They're laid out well. They're easy to use. Wish these weren't glossy at the bottom, but not really the end of the world. You do get paddle shifters if you're in one of the sport trims, the SE or the XSE here. Which will give you like 8 fixed gear ratios. Since it is an eCVT, it's like doesn't really have fixed gears. This little guy here is a sensor for the driver monitoring system, or it's a camera for the driver monitoring system. I turn that off as soon as I can figure out how to turn it off, and luckily when you turn that off, it stays off. It's not something you have to turn off every time you get back in the car, but that's really more of like a posture monitoring system than it is a driver attention system, because I would be sitting like, if I slouched a little bit, I leaned a little bit, then it wouldn't see my eyes and it would tell me to pay attention. But, you have to have perfect posture and perfect driving position if you want to have that on, because otherwise it's going to beep at you all the time until you're not paying attention. Gauge cluster, again, it's been modernized. It looks really nice. You have a bunch of different options for things you can look at, your energy efficiency. You can look at the drive wheels, your tire pressure. You can see like what the powertrain is doing, whether the combustion engine is driving the wheels, or the electric motor is driving the wheels, whether it's charging. You can nerd out over all of that stuff. You've got your driver's assist features in here. You do have traffic sign recognition in here as standard, which is pretty cool. And just the design of this is really well done. You have a few different versions of the cluster that you can cycle through, and a few different like moods that you can change it through, which is, it's really a much, much nicer system than the previous gauge cluster. The heads-up display here is optional. That one's not going to be standard. That's part of the Premium Plus package that this one has on it. And that has also been modernized. And this one, now you have your speed, you have all your driver's assist stuff in there, and like whether you're in drive or park or whatever, and it's very crystal clear. It also has your nav in there if you have nav going, but it will not do your Android Auto nav. I'm not sure about CarPlay, but for Android Auto, it has not put the nav through there. It does have to be the onboard nav system. You have the nice big 12.3-inch infotainment screen here with the latest and greatest from Toyota and Lexus. This is consistent across all of their newer vehicles. You can load up your profile if you already are coming out of another modern Toyota or Lexus product, then you can just load your profile up through here. Otherwise, you can save your profile in here. Maybe you're hopping back and forth with your spouse or whatever, or your kid. There is ambient lighting you can update through here. You have like a white ambient lighting. You don't have all the different millions of colors, but you do get the white ambient lighting in the upper specs. We have a physical volume knob. We have physical buttons for your HVAC control. All of this is very intuitive, makes sense. Up for up, down for down, up for up on the fan, down for down. You've got your heated steering wheel through here, your heated and ventilated seats. You have an option over here if you want the vents to only blow on the occupied seats. So if you don't have a passenger, then it's not going to blow a bunch of cold air on them because it's just not efficient. These interesting vents through here. I wish they weren't gloss black, but kind of a cool design, I guess. It does get nice and cool in here. I've had no problems with it getting cooled down or heated up. And then got your sort of standard gear shift here. You can put it into standard mode if you want to do your up-down shifting there. That will be used like by 0 people. But the option is there if you want it. You got your different drive modes down here. Your auto hold, your EV mode. This one can go full EV at low speeds. So it's like parking lots, parking garages, stuff like that, but you can't like drive around. You do have your pano sunroof here is going to be an option on this one. On the upper trims, you can option the XLE, the XSE. Otherwise, you can get just like a regular small sunroof, but I love having the pano sunroof because it means that kids can see up into the sky as well, get a little bit of extra light, a little bit of extra vitamin D back there. But this, when you get the pano sunroof, you do lose out on the sunglasses holder because there would standard be a sunglasses holder, but this one does not have it because it has the pano sunroof. And then in the back seats, plenty of room, 38 inches of legroom back there, which the only one that's in the midsize segment that's going to be a little bit more than that is going to be the Accord, gets you 40 inches of legroom. The K5, the Sonata, the Altima are all going to be closer to like 35 inches and rear legroom. Plenty for me. I can fit behind myself at 5'7" with tons of space. If you are 6 feet, 6'2", you could probably still get somebody behind you without too many issues as long as they're not also like 6'2". I've got forward-facing seats back there. Rear-facing seats are going to be fine, again, as long as you're not like really, really tall. Really pretty nice place to be back there. But overall, really nice interior. This is a huge upgrade from the last generation, and even in the base trim, you get lots of great standard features. Really a well-done interior overall. When it comes to daily driving the Camry, honestly, I've been pretty surprised with this thing. I kind of expected a lot of Toyota cars. This is really like a knock on them or anything, but they get you A to B. They're efficient, reliable. They do what you expect them to do, and they're not necessarily the most exciting to drive, at least the stuff that doesn't have a GR badge on it. And it's fine, that's what they do. But this Camry is actually pretty interesting to drive. It's not like just this super boring commuter. First of all, with this new Toyota hybrid system, you get that electric motor up front combined with the internal combustion engine pumping down 225 horsepower and plenty of torque. It needs more torque than this for a daily driver is just an internet troll. But the system works really well, and they've tuned the electric motor so that it gives you this sort of gradual build along with the internal combustion engine motor, so it doesn't feel like super unnatural like a lot of EVs and stuff. You stomp on the accelerator and you just move like immediately, like you get kind of uncomfortable. This one, they made it really natural, and you accelerate quickly, but you don't accelerate in like an uncomfortable way, and it can get out of its own way totally fine, especially in sport mode. And then there is that back motor as well to get involved as needed if you get the all-wheel drive system. It is not a big motor. It's not pumping out a ton of power, not pumping out a ton of torque. So it's really just an as needed. If you're doing hard acceleration up a hill or hard acceleration from a stop, maybe you start to lose grip on one of the wheels or something. It's not like a full-time all-wheel drive system or anything. But it has been helpful in situations where I needed hard acceleration. And it's surprisingly nimble as well. Toyota has retuned the suspension here, and with the XSE and the SE, the sport trims, you get the sport tuned suspension. It's not a track car, obviously. You're not taking this thing to the track, but it's surprisingly nimble. Like yesterday, I had to make a last second evasive maneuver real quick. I had to stomp the accelerator and go around someone really quickly, and it handled that very well. It was very responsive, and I never felt like I was losing control or anything. I felt very in control. I felt like the car was very nimble throughout that process. With the sport tuned suspension, usually I get concerned that that's going to make the ride quality kind of suck, but the ride quality here is pretty good. As long as you're not in pothole city, most of the time the ride quality here has been pretty good as well. But if you are concerned about it, then you want to go into either the LE with the smaller wheels, or the XLE, which is going to give you the regular suspension as well as slightly smaller wheels. It's also surprisingly quiet in here, even on the highway at high speeds. A lot of times cars at this price point are not particularly quiet. It's not total sound deadening or anything like that, but it's quiet. I could easily have a conversation at a normal volume in here without a problem. It's not hurting my ears or anything. I can listen to music just fine. It's a lot quieter in here than I expected it to be. At first, I was a little bit iffy on the brakes. They're not as grabby as I typically prefer, but this one you just kind of have to get used to that. You got to get used to getting deeper into the brake pedal, and it'll give you stops. I don't know what has been happening this last week, but I did have to do a couple of last second hard brakes. No problems with that at all. And there's even in part of the Toyota safety system 3.0 that this one has as standard, that it's got the brake warning as well. So if you're coming up on somebody and you're getting a little bit too close, it'll help brake for you. It will also beep at you and give you a big warning up there in the heads-up display, and down here in the gauge cluster. If you don't have the heads-up display, it was tells you to brake. The 3.0 system and the stuff that you get standard is perfect for this car. You get the blind spot monitoring. That's a little indicator in your mirror that tells you if somebody's in your blind spot. The rear cross traffic alert, adaptive cruise, or the radar cruise actually, with full stop and go. That's the one that will keep your distance behind somebody. And then this has lane tracing, where it'll keep you centered in your lane. This is not a totally hands-free. If you take your hands off the wheel for more than a couple of seconds, then it'll tell you, hey, you got to put your hands back on the wheel. It'll tell you, hey, you got to get your hands back on the wheel. But that stuff is standard. And so even in the LE and the base trim, which is huge, because that's the main stuff that I always look for. In addition to that stuff, this has the Premium Plus package. So it's got the front cross traffic alert. It's got the parking sensors. It's got the 360 camera. All that stuff works really nicely. And when the parking sensors go off, it'll give you the camera automatically through the infotainment system. It'll give you these little indicators of how far away things are as well, with this sort of augmented 3D augmented reality thing. That also works really well. I like having that, parking in a cluttered garage or something, or if you're parking in a lot of tight spaces. Really, all that together, this driving experience, it's efficient, it's comfortable, it's quiet, it has just the right safety features, even standard, and it really, it's nimble. The sport mode makes it even quicker on the throttle, and it can get out of its own way. Really, I have no complaints about this driving experience. It drives very well, and it drives, actually, it's more interesting to drive than I expected it to be, honestly. At the end of the day, this car really, Toyota has knocked it out of the park with this car. The updates are wonderful, and there's really not much reason to buy any other midsize sedan unless you want something a little more sporty, a little more luxury. But if you want something efficient, you want something spacious, it's got all the right features as standard, honestly, like the blind spot monitoring, the rear cross traffic alert, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, wireless. What more could you need for a basic A to B car? It's got great space in the back. It's really nice inside. If you do want more features, you load it out to the XLE or the XSE, and it rivals the Lexus ES300H at this point. The ES300H doesn't even come in all-wheel drive. Of course, that's going to ride a little bit better. You get a little bit better sound system in that one as an option, but other than that, there's almost no reason to go up into the Lexus brand from the Camry now. If I were to load it out, I probably wouldn't go XSE. I'd probably go XLE, just because you get the option of like memory seats and rain sensing wipers, and the smaller wheels are going to ride a little bit better. The regular suspension, instead of having this sport tune suspension, I ride a little bit better. But honestly, that's personal preference. It's not like this one rides horribly or anything. It still rides pretty well, and it's just like sort of styling versus features at that point. But either way, it can compete with the basic Lexus ES300H, and you get the all-wheel drive option here. But honestly, if you need space, you need something to get you A to B, you need decent features, you want fuel efficiency, there's really not much of a reason to look anywhere beyond the Toyota Camry, the new Toyota Camry. They've knocked this out of the park. Toyota has done an excellent job with this car. Let me know what you think down in the comments. As always, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Sedan with all-wheel drive, and the bird is so loud. Can you, Blake, go somewhere else? Can you go? Go away, please? There's a parking lot, and I'm trying to record. Come on, please, go away. You're not gonna go away. It'd be great if you go away. That's closer. That's not helpful. I would like you to go away, not get closer, please. No, that's a worse sound than before. Now you're just being louder. All right, hopefully we can cut that out.